everybody, what's up? Sean Hatzel here with Get Lean in 12. So I'm coming at you with a short little power-packed fat loss video today. I'm going to uncover 3 easy tricks that you can use to naturally elevate growth hormone levels for faster fat loss. So I've listed 3 natural methods that you can use here. And just remember that growth hormone seems to be all the rage right now. Most people are getting fake injections. So you'll see anti-aging clinics popping up all over the country. Hollywood celebrities or people who have money are using these fake growth hormone injections, and they can be very dangerous. But there's ways that you can actually take advantage of this hormone naturally. And let's talk about 3 methods that you can use right now so you don't have to ever worry about these dangerous injections. The first one is to strategically time your last meal before bed. So in theory, it doesn't really matter whether you eat carbs before bed or you don't. It's more about the timing of that meal. In other words, as long as you're burning off more calories than you're taking in, it really doesn't matter the macronutrients of the meal that you eat before bed. If you want to release maximum growth hormone, you have to time it properly. So always remember that any time that you eat a meal, and of course, it depends on the combination of this meal, the timing of this meal, and the portion control of this meal will determine how high the insulin spike is and how long the insulin spike lasts. But as long as you have a healthy metabolism, in general, when you eat a meal, you're going to naturally have a huge insulin spike right out of the gate, and then about 2 hours later, 2 to 3 hours later, you're going to see insulin come back down to baseline or normal. So you have about a 2 to 3 hour window here, depending on the size of that meal, the portion control, and so on, but in general. So, if you're going to bed at 11 p.m., you should make sure that you have your last meal between 8 and 9 p.m. Now, 2 hours passes afterwards, so you're right at this spot right here where insulin is back down to normal before you go to bed. Now, if you go to bed when insulin is way up here, this is going to block growth hormone because insulin is a storage hormone, and in the science world it's considered the antagonist of growth hormone, so it can blunt growth hormone release. Now remember, within the first 90 minutes to 2 hours of going to sleep is when we have the highest amount of growth hormone release. So if we eat a big giant meal and then we go to bed an hour later, it's not really that we have to worry about fat storage. We're going to block the release of growth hormone because insulin is going to be elevated. So instead, wait 2 to 3 hours after a meal. Now you're going to bed right here where insulin's back down to normal, and you get that maximum GH pulse or that maximum GH surge within your first 90 minutes to 2 hours of sleeping. Trick number 2 is to use high intensity exercise in a fasted state. And remember, you have to have a healthy metabolism without any sugar issues, and I recommend that you have some experience under your belt when it comes to nutrition and exercise if you try this strategy. But when you exercise in a fasted state, glycogen levels are typically a lot lower, and glycogen is simply energy that we store in our muscle tissue and some in our liver. And for example, if we sleep the entire night, we fast all night long, that means these energy reserves have drained and they're very depleted. That means that fat burning will be very, very high when you wake up. So if you wake up in the morning in a fasted state, as long as you have a healthy metabolism and you can tolerate fasted training, and you engage in a high intensity exercise strategy, and it has to be high intensity because this is what's going to maximize the growth hormone release. If you cannot exercise in the morning in a fasted state, I recommend that you wait about 2 to 3 hours after a meal. Now you've digested that meal, you have some energy stored away from that meal, but because it's 2 to 3 hours after a meal, remember, insulin's back down to where it's supposed to be. So if you engage in a high intensity exercise strategy for just like 20 to 30 minutes, you can skyrocket growth hormone levels. Now the third way to naturally increase growth hormone is to use intermittent fasting. You basically have 3 choices here. I use various forms of intermittent fasting about 4 or 5 days of the week. You have a 24-hour fast that you can use, which Brad Pilon coined in his Eat, Stop, Eat. So this is just simply a 24-hour period where you're having nothing but water and you're abstaining. So if you eat your last meal at like 7 p.m. at night, you would not eat again until 7 p.m. the next day. And I recommend doing this a couple times of the week. This is a great way to naturally increase growth hormone, because when you're intermittent fasting, whether you're using Brad Pilon's 24-hour fast or you're using a 16-hour fast with an 8-hour feeding period like Martin Burkhan recommends, or you're even using the Warrior Diet from Ori Hofmeckler, where you can have small amounts of proteins and veggies and friendly fats throughout the day to mimic intermittent fasting and keep insulin really, really low, anytime you use any type of fasting technique, your body's fight or flight response kicks up really high. It's what we call your sympathetic nervous system. When your SNS kicks up really, really high, your fight or flight response, this is a signal for your body to survive. And what it will do is it will release more adrenaline and it will release more growth hormone to naturally increase fat burning. At the same exact time, you have insulin very, very low during this period. And we know if insulin is elevated, it'll block growth hormone release. So insulin is low for extended periods of time when you fast. So this can really, really enhance your body's natural ability to release more growth hormone. So there you have it. 3 easy tricks to naturally elevate your growth hormone for faster fat loss. Strategically time your last meal before bed. Use high intensity exercise in a fasted state. Make sure the duration of this exercise is under 30 minutes and make sure the intensity is very high, like bodyweight circuits, metabolic burst, high intensity weight training, or even sprints work really, really well. And then of course, using any type of intermittent fasting technique 3 to 7 times a week is going to naturally elevate growth hormone. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe if you're on YouTube, if you're on my blog. Make sure you hit like and share this with your friends on Facebook. And if you got questions, just drop me a comment and I'll do my best to get back with you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on the next one.